Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today, Unit 7 Marxian Perspective on Development. We start the topic Marx's Plan of Action. After the revolution of the working class, the proletariat would be raised to the position of ruling class to win the battle of democracy, to centralize all instruments of production in the hand of the state, to increase the total productive force as rapidly as possible, to entirely revolutionize the mode of production. He suggested the following measures. First, abolition of private property in land and application of all rents of land to public purpose. Second, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax. Third, abolition of all rights of inheritance. Fourth, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels. Fifth, centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. Sixth, centralization of the means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. Seventh, existence of factories and instruments of production owned by the state, the bringing into cultivation of wasteland and the improvement of the soil generally in accordance with a common plan. Eighth, equal liabilities of all the labor, establishment of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Ninth, combination of agriculture with manufacturing industries, gradual abolition of the distinction between town and country by a more equitable distribution of the population over the country. 10th, free education for all children in public school, abolition of children's factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. Now let us start the next topic, that is Marx and historical sociological perspective. Historical analysis can develop a critical approach to the study of the past, present and future. It can illuminate the varieties of cultural and social diversity that have existed and show how changes in these have occurred. Many historical approaches in sociology have assumed that history is associated with the human progress and reaching higher stages of development of society. Marxian theories and liberal theories of modernization generally adopt this approach. But historical approaches in sociology need not make this assumption and can consider human experience to have many forms of diversity, society to have made greater progress in some areas and little in others, and to consider the possibility of regression rather than progression. It would be best to adopt a historical approach that does not consider human history to have a particular direction or to necessarily evolve to more progressive form of social organization. Further, there may be no inevitably or purpose to historical change. Change certainly occurred, but is a product of myriad influences, some intended and others unintended, with coincidence and chance along with intersection of various unforeseen social circumstances and forces. There are certainly social forces leading in specific directions and powerful individuals and groups attempting to further their influence and power. But people in the social world can also change these social forces. For example, some contemporary analysis assumes that globalization, standardization, and the decline of the nation state are dominant forces that have a certain inevitability. While there is no doubt that these forces are strong, there are other aspects such as traditional cultures, resistance to change, local grounding, and communication and discussion that must be considered as well. Writers in the 19th century often adopted a view that human history passed through various identifiable stages. The sociology of Comte, with focus on the theological, metaphysical, scientific stage of society and the analysis of enlightenment, writers tended to assume that human history has gone through various stages of development, with each of the stages at a higher level than earlier stages. The Enlightenment thinkers assumed that the stage that had been reached at the time they were writing was an advance over earlier stages, in that humans had developed a better understanding of the world and could now improve the social world. The view that the stages of history represented progress is reflected in concepts such as primitive and backward to refer to traditional forms, and civilization and modern to refer to the European societies of the 19th century. Marx and Engels and the later writers in the Marxian stream have generally adopted a similar view and developed a historical analysis as a major part of their analysis. For Marx, the modes of production were historical in nature, with each representing a particular stage of historical evolution and containing forces for change, but also being limited in form. Thus, markets and cities emerged in feudal society, but the power of these emergent social forces required change in the mode of production. As a result, the forces of the bourgeoisie and the capitalism broke the power of feudal forms of society and economic organization, creating a new society in the 19th century. For Marx, each mode of production is historical in nature, having emerged at a particular time but also having an historical dynamic built into it. Marxian analysis is thus essentially historical in content and form. While it is theoretical, the concepts and models of Marxian analysis are simultaneously historical and theoretical. There had been several criticisms against this Marxian model of development. Let us look into some of them here. Marx has forecasted the disappearance of the state after the successful implementation of the program of action by the dictatorship of the proletariat. However, historical experiences show that the state system has not only got reinforced, it has at times taken an oppressive form. Again, it is a fact that centralized planning cannot be implemented without well-organized state mechanism. Thus, Marx's idea of the state withering away the remains in essential contradictory both in terms of historical experiences and execution of centralized planning. It is assumed that dictatorship of the proletariat would usher them in an era of classless society. However, after the seizure of state power, not the proletariat but the political elites occupy the power. Ownership of the power is an important dimension of defining social class. Indeed, here new political classes emerge with a new occupying the power position while the vast majority being the powerless. Marx has generalized the idea related to class formation, class transformation and the role of the economic structure in determining the course of history. Marx has defined social collectivities or group in terms of the economy. Here class has been seen as the sole agent to bring change in the society through revolution. However, the significance of nationality, ethnicity, race, gender, caste, estate, etc. within these collectives are grossly ignored. Indeed, Marx has defined all social relations and conflicts in terms of class relations and conflicts by ignoring the social and historical roles played by these collectives in various societies. The Marxian idea of capitalism has not taken into cognizance the advancement of new technological input and new employer-employee relationship in the changing world. Many of the aspects are covered in the theory of modernization and the critical theory. The process of advancement of capitalism may also follow the path of rationalization of religious thoughts as depicted by Protestant ethics highlighted by Max Weber. Karl Marx's core idea on development was furthered by several schools of Marxian approach. In the following section, we shall be presenting a glimpse of the neo-Marxian approach. And here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.